Good morning, everyone. On the East Coast, good evening to all you party animals on the West Coast. 10 explanations for Biden's bad debate, fake presidential immunity reactions, and blaming Jill. Dr. Jill getting the blunt of the blame here. We'll talk about it today on the show. The story that everyone is talking about past couple days is the presidential immunity ruling by the Supreme Court, in which they ruled that a former president or a current one has substantial, not total, but substantial immunity from prosecution for official acts committed while in office, but not for unofficial acts committed, which is basically what the standard was prior to this ruling. The Supreme Court just kind of affirmed it and gave a little bit of direction in determining what's official and unofficial, then kicked it back to the lower courts to make that determination between what that line is. I haven't read the full 112 pages or so that this thing is, but which I'm sure there's some stuff hidden in there that are interesting. And as I go through it and I find those, I will point those out. But the gist of the ruling as I know it, Justice Roberts, who wrote the majority opinion, he wrote that the president, therefore, may not be prosecuted for exercising his core constitutional powers, and he is entitled, at a minimum, to a presumptive immunity from prosecution for all of his official acts. That immunity applies equally to all occupants of the Oval House, regardless of politics, policy, or party. And then Roberts goes on to acknowledge the confusion that such ruling may arise, saying that certain allegations, such as those involving Trump's discussions with acting attorney general, are readily categorized in light of the nature of the president's official relationship to the office held by that individual. Other allegations, such as those involving Trump's interactions with vice president, state officials, and certain private parties, and his comments to the general public, present more difficult questions. Very obviously, it's just as it was before. Really, it all comes down to how the terms official and unofficial are defined. That's how everything is in politics. I can change these definitions around. And to help give a little bit of direction, not clarity, but a little bit of direction to what constitutes an official and unofficial act, the court found that in addition to the core presidential duties laid out in the Constitution, conduct within the outer perimeter, which is where a lot of traffic is here in Atlanta if you're driving on the outer perimeter, but conduct within the outer perimeter of official functions would be deemed immune as long as it is not manifestly or palpably beyond his authority, which there's not a concrete definition of that. So what this stuff always comes down to is definitions, and what a judge or jury can be convinced fits in to these definitions and applied to a specific case, and those that do not. Now this ruling, let me put this up on screen. Hopefully the audio is working today. If not, I've, again, been mouthing silently as though I'm on a CNN debate. Yeah, so this is the article here. What constitutes an official act by the president? Yeah, this is what it was like before. So, hold on a second. I'll make sure this thing's up here. Okay, so this ruling, according to the reporting on the ruling anyway, means that the court, according to this article from ABC News, CIA ABC News, the court basically said that as long as Trump or any president claims that what he was doing was acting officially, then his actions are presumptively constitutional, and it's up to the prosecutors to find evidence to overcome the presumption, and that's not going to be easy. So the burden of proof is on the prosecutors, as it has always been. Should not be a surprise. Yet there's a lot of media acting as though this ruling, which was very predictable, was a surprise. What it might depend on, actually, in my opinion, or whether to be easy or not to show that burden, is going to depend on who is being charged in a case and what the actual subject matter is and how politically driven it is. Because as a statement from a constitutional law professor who is in this ABC article admitted, this isn't really about the law. Just as none of this lawfare stuff. Technically, it is to a certain extent when it comes to tying people up and resources and money, but it's about something a little bit different. Public opinion, propaganda. This is what they say in this article, this constitutional law professor, in regards to this ruling and how it affects Jack Smith's January 6th Trump indictment. She says one option is to try to streamline for Jack Smith, is to try to streamline the case considerably to only those acts that either Trump conceded were unofficial or those acts plus some that Jack Smith thinks he has the best chance of persuading the courts that they are unofficial. And this is what it all boils down to. What the prosecutor can persuade the courts are unofficial, or the potential jurors that they are unofficial acts. And the prosecutor is not going to be acting alone in their effort to do this, because the effort to persuade a potential jury that this case could be thrown to, or any case in the future could be thrown to, starts long before the actual trial starts. We live in an environment where the average person and potential juror can hardly escape the onslaught of biased information designed to program their minds. And the prosecutor is going to have the help of the media and the social media environment that throws all this information at people and these operatives to persuade them. They want everybody connected to the internet so that nobody can escape the brainwashing and the information about the base reality they want to create, which makes it kind of impossible to ever find an unbiased juror again. And in an environment such as this, the prosecution, which depends on the opinion of those jurors, is conducted well before you ever reach trial. So this ruling is not about the law. It's about what the collective efforts of those who control the media and social media establishments can convince potential jurors that the law is, long before they ever see a courtroom. So what's the difference here with this ruling? Reading the details and minuteness inside that document might reveal some things that do give more power to the executive branch, but compared to what? Were there people going around convinced that the executive branch was limited in their power prior to this? That there was restraint being held because of certain laws prior to this? Because I don't know if this really changes anything. It's not, despite Biden pretending to be against the outcome of this Supreme Court ruling today, it doesn't change the fact that he benefits from it. There's no doubt that he stands to benefit from it, from his actions in office, as well as all the previous presidents and the future presidents. There's no way they were going to rule in a way that opened up all of those presidents and future presidents to potential prosecution for acts that they commit during their time in office. That could be argued to be unofficial. Maybe they wrote it in a way where it's specific enough to Trump, but can't be applied to other presidents. I doubt it. From what I've seen so far anyway, it just doesn't seem much different to me. Obviously, presidents are immune. They've been immune for a very, very long time. I mean, a president in the entire history of our nation had never until this year been charged with a crime. That's like ultimate immunity throughout the history of this nation that presidents have had. And all of a sudden, because of this Supreme Court ruling, they have godlike immunity. That's already been there. The media just would like for you to believe otherwise. because they don't tell you the truth except in times when a little bit of truth is necessary for their propaganda narrative. I mean, the only reason that the question of presidential immunity came up, I mean, this question's never been addressed by the Supreme Court until now. And it only came up because for the first time, a former president was charged with a crime. That's the only reason the defense of immunity came up, which thus led to an appeal that went to the Supreme Court. So ultimate immunity has already been proven for every other president. And Trump is getting some of that immunity now. This case is probably the Jack Smith one, not going to go to trial before or at all, probably eventually. And maybe there'll be some interesting stuff in that ruling, but this is just so stupid. They already had ultimate immunity, proven by the fact that never before has a former president been charged with a crime, which either implies ultimate immunity or that we have only elected presidents that never have committed any crimes. And I know that some people might believe that, but most people aren't naive enough to believe that. And this ruling has been reported on by the media in a predictable way, saying it effectively is going to enable Trump to become a king, a dictator on day one, as he promised, they say, taking all that, out of context and interpreting what was obviously a joke, reversing the words on it, as they do. But they have sent this around in their emails saying this is why you should definitely vote for Biden now to stop Trump from being that dictator he promised he'd be. It's all about messaging. It's all of this stuff, all about messaging all the time, all the way up to Supreme Court rulings. Propaganda persuasion. Real value of this ruling here. And it led to what I think the true value is to them when it comes to data collection and identifying the people that are going to be the first recruits into the next or the new Bolshevik army, which is it led to a couple of big accounts on X tweeting out that, well, the Supreme Court, and this is stemmed from the dissent opinion, but they've now ruled that Biden, if he wanted to, could send SEAL Team 6 to assassinate Trump. We saw a British commentator who tweeted this out, then took it back, said he was joking. We saw that Harry Sisson guy, who everybody loves to hate, which actually gives him what he wants, all the engagement that he needs to make, big bucks on X. He tweeted it out. I can show you his. Find it here. This is what Harry Sisson, everybody's favorite douchebag, liberal. I mean, this guy's just a troll. He's just a troll, and people treat him like, they get mad at him like he's being serious. Can you see that? Let me make that a little bit bigger. Oh, maybe not. I don't know if you can see that up there. All right, so he tweeted out, this is earlier, then he deleted it, but then he retweeted it out by showing an image of Fox News talking about what he tweeted out. He said, I guess Fox News is mad that I called out the Supreme Court's disastrous immunity and the horrible potential implications. He said, according to the Supreme Court, Biden could now send SEAL Team 6 in to take them all out. He could send the military in to take out Trump. He has immunity for official acts right there. So all of that was sent out. And here's the dissenting opinion from Justice Sotomayor, who wrote in her dissent, orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival immune. This is in the dissenting opinion. Organize a military dissenting coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune. And then it went on to say that even if these nightmare scenarios never pan out, or she went on to say, even if they never pan out, the damage has been done. The relationship between the president and the people he serves has shifted irrevocably. In every use of the official power, the president is now king and above the law. And as I demonstrated a moment ago, that's always been the case. There's never been a president charged with a crime before, ever. So either perfect behavior or they've already been immune up until this point of Trump being charged with a crime. Is it true that now Biden or Trump could send SEAL Team 6 after their political opponent and be immune. On the surface, you would think that it'd be a little bit tough to argue that using the military to take out your political opponent falls under the definition of an official act and therefore grants immunity to the president that calls for it. But who's to say what exactly fits that definition of official or unofficial in any given sense when, as I mentioned before, the juror, the court of public opinion, their opinions are more likely to be determined by social media and the mainstream media than the actual facts and legal precedents of any case or law, which is why it's beneficial for those pulling the strings to have these large accounts like this Harry Sisson guy and the British dude, and I'm sure there's many others as well, to tweet things out like this, saying that now Biden can call for Trump's assassination and be immune, because it enables them to collect all of this data by seeing the response to tweets like this on, it's probably on Facebook and other platforms too, but they can just do kind of an unofficial poll on how many people in America would be okay if Biden called for Trump's assassination. How many would stand up and say, Biden is immune from prosecution because of this, because that enables them to identify this ongoing list of people who will be the first recruits into the new Bolshevik army, who will believe absolutely anything, who are the ones going around saying, whoa, what do you mean Biden lost? Because he's got a stutter? I actually know somebody who said that. Legitimately, they said that. These are the people, if you believe these things about Biden, that Biden's fine, you will believe anything. Welcome to the new Bolshevik army. They will bring you in. So I think stuff like this, part of this little operation, is to gauge how many people's brains have been fully captured and how big their army of people in this country is that they can have complete, absolute control over, no questions asked, regardless of the facts or objective reality presented in front of them. I think it's a small percentage of Americans, but this is a way to gauge what that number is, which they continue to attempt to increase. They do not want people actually being influenced by facts or reality. And all of this stuff, in my opinion, is an effort to erode, to shrink the number of people that actually evaluate and expand the number of people that are mindless drones. So, next story. Let me check Rockfin over here. All right, yeah, we're up and going here. All right, so the ongoing story of the week related to this stuff, the aftermath of Biden's debate performance, which has led to a little bit of blame game going on. It's led to the question of, will he be the nominee or won't he? And it's also led to, thus far anyway, 10 explanations for Biden's subpar debate performance last week. These are the 10 that I've heard. I'm sure there's more. Number one, he had a small cold. He had a small cold. Which, to be fair, waking up with a small cold does suck. I mean, who among us has not woke up with a stuffy nose, sore throat, and dementia? It happens to the best of us. Number two explanation to his performance, cold medicine. It's just a little cold medicine makes us all, a little Alzheimer's. I know there's no T in that word. Number three, stutter. It was just a stutter. Somebody I know in the theater community said that. They believe it. What are you talking about? I thought he won. It was just a stutter. Okay, well, good luck in the Bolshevik army. Number four, Biden could have been up late the night before, working on top secret, classified national security stuff. For all we know, I heard that expressed on CNN. For all we know, he was up late saving the country, dealing with top security national. Like, he can't tell us about that, you know? I'm sure that's a plausible explanation. Number 5, too much Botox made emoting in his forehead difficult. Okay. Number 6, preparation overload. He had too many facts in his head. Too prepared. Number 7, the venue was conducive for Trump, but not for him, which obviously that venue was not fit for someone suffering from a cold-induced bout of dementia. Number 8, insufficient rest. Very simple. Number 9, Trump's tan made Biden look pale. This is an explanation being floated, which today many people are alleging that Biden potentially, in response to this, got a little bit of a spray tan before his remarks about the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's the case. Could have been a screen filter. Could be people taking the image and kind of brushing it up themselves. Because I did look at a bunch of images, and there was definitely some doctored ones, which, again, we don't need to doctor things when the guy is clearly has dementia. By doctoring things, they can call them cheap fakes and undermine the actual truth of the matter. In their audience anyway, you got to be pretty, thick to not notice what's going on with Biden, to not have noticed this for some time now. Number 10, and this is the big one of the day, the big reason why, or thing being blamed on Biden's performance, is Jill Biden, of course. Jill Biden and Biden's small inner circle of family and advisors who have been hiding his health problems from us, not just from us. This small circle of people who've been handling Biden, led by Jill, that bitch Jill has been behind it the whole time. They have misled his staffers, the mainstream media, and the rest of America, this small group of like 8 or 10 people. They fooled all of us. And the media, they just found out themselves when we did Thursday night. They were as surprised as we were at Biden's performance. It was such a great cover-up job that the media that hook to is him and reports on him all the time was fooled. More on Jill in a moment and the coincidence, the timing of an article that came out about it. I mean, it's all so stupid. It's just all so dumb. But people keep buying it. People keep buying it. So as long as that happens, then they're going, as long as it keeps influencing people and dividing and ruling the nation, then they will continue to do it. But in a perfect example of gaslighting, the media and their pundits have spread around these explanations, these 10 and others, to their most captured future members of the Bolshevik army, while never at any point in time mentioning the most obvious explanation for what we saw from Biden on Thursday. And even if this isn't correct, or you want to argue that maybe Biden's an actor, which if he's an actor, he's a great actor who should be in Hollywood making far more money than what he's doing with the presidency, because he'd be the best actor in Hollywood. And that explanation is that what we saw from Biden on Thursday was dementia sundowning. Dementia, sundowning in people with dementia is when patients, their behavior later in the day, it changes somewhat drastically. And if you've ever been around somebody with dementia, then you've probably experienced this, especially if you've been around it for an extended period of time. But all of a sudden at night, well, during periods of the day, and I'll give you the timing in a second, they can become intensely distressed, agitated, confused, have hallucinations or delusions. They can start dementia sundowning even leads to pacing or wandering, as we often see Biden do, and ignoring directions. Everything we see from Biden, including the look on his face, is screaming somebody should ask if it's possible that this is sundowning and he has dementia. Any real person analyzing this who actually cares about truth, that is one of the first things that is going to come to mind. Of course, nobody in the media admits it, yet There are media reports, multiple of them now, that are describing the two Bidens and describing to a T sundowning, but not actually calling it that. That's how you know that, like the Jake Tappers of the world who are pretending to, well, Biden needs to prove himself. That's how you know they're disingenuous, because they're not actually calling this what it very obviously is, in my opinion, which is sundowning from an old man who has dementia. Look at this article from Axios. They're literally describing sundowning. So and they're choosing not to. So you don't write an article like this and not know or have somebody say to you, that's probably dementia sundowning. You actively choose not to put that in there. Just like they covered up for Reagan in his later years, just like they covered up for, was it Woodrow Wilson? Every time a president is ill, it gets covered up until it can't be covered up anymore. And the media has to pretend like they don't know this if they want this narrative that we were just as blindsided as you, which most of us, we're not going to fall for, but many of their audience will. As I said, I actually know a person whose response to the debate was, what are you talking about? Biden won. He just has a stutter. That's a real person that I know. So while it's obvious to us that they're full of it and they're lying, all they have to do is give their audience a little bit to say, oh, we didn't, the ones who see that Biden is not all there, but don't want to believe that the media lied to them. Oh, well, it wasn't the media. We trust them. They're our fact finders. It was that evil Jill Biden who was getting the blunt of all the blame. Like, all overnight, Jill Biden turned into a evil supervillain. It's crazy. Holy smokes. This one doctor who teaches at a community college in Delaware had the entire nation fooled. Yeah, sorry, not buying that. Anybody who does, well, it's just good luck in the Bolshevik army is all I have to say to anybody who does. Here's what Axios says. The headline from Axios is, "To Joe Biden's, the night America saw the other one." Just start by saying that America has seen the other one many, many times. It just hasn't been acknowledged by the media all the other times. But the article goes on to say, pull it down here a little bit. This past 36 hours showcased two Joe Bidens, the veteran president rallying voters in a swing state, and an 81-year-old man struggling to string thoughts together in a debate. Two different Bidens. Of course, the Biden they're talking about rallying for votes in a swing state, that is what happened the day after the debate, when we saw these reports of how vigorous Biden was the next day, which he really wasn't that vigorous the next day. He was just so much better than the night before that they could report him as being great, and they could say, where was that Biden the night before? Well, that Biden was gone because he was experiencing sundowning. And when he spoke the next day at that rally, it was during the daytime hours, the morning hours, when the effects of dementia sundowning aren't hitting the patient, while the debate was right in the prime hours of when that happens. I mean, even if that's not the explanation, even though everything about what happened fits the description of this, of course, there could be other explanations. It's certainly a better explanation than a small cold, or he was up late the night before working on top secret stuff. Give me a break. I mean, it's such an insult, and it's not designed for us. It's designed just the same way that the Nigerian prince scheme is, where they put all the errors and mistakes in the email because most people who the scam won't work on will disregard it as a scam. Whereas the ones who read it, see all of the errors and mistakes and just badly written language that are telltale signs of a scam, will look at it and say, I believe it anyway. It's the same thing. This debate was the Nigerian prince scheme of debates. Let's show how awful and just brain dead. I don't even, Biden's not a good guy, but seeing him like that, it feels like elder abuse. But showcasing a dementia patient to the country and then seeing who still believes he's fine is a great way to know how you have someone on the hook. The Nigerian prince debate is what they might as well have called this thing. But if you look up, let's go to Axios down here, even says to continue describing sundowning without actually mentioning sundowning. Axios says in this article, the time of day is important to which of the two Bidens will appear. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Biden is dependably engaged, and many of his public events in front of cameras are held within those hours. Outside that time range or while traveling abroad, Biden is more likely to have verbal miscues and become fatigued, the aides told Axios. And so when you look up, what time does dementia sundowning start? And, you know, this is not going to be a set in stone time, but even I was a bit surprised to find that looking that up. Where is it? Yeah, look at this. So you look that up, first thing that comes up, dementia sundowning. Hold on, make that a little bit bigger. The first answer is from Banner Health. The symptoms of sundowning typically occur between the hours of 4:30 p.m. until just after 11 p.m. So they occur right after that 4 p.m. mark up until the point of the debate ending the other day. I mean, this is just, and they don't even say, maybe it's sundowning. How disingenuous these pieces of trash are. Maybe he's a great actor. I know some people believe he's an actor. I believe he looks exactly like every elderly person who I've experienced who has dementia behaves at times. They don't mean to. And I don't like Biden. But Biden looks exactly like someone with dementia and possibly someone who had a stroke. Any of you who have dealt with people in that situation, it's very unfortunate and sad. I mean, it's terrible. You see the same thing. Or give them an Oscar because this is the greatest performance anybody's ever put on. And the media knows all this too. I mean, they know all this. So do his surrogates. So do those aides. So do all these people who are blaming Jill Biden so they can maintain a little bit of trust with their audience, make them think they haven't been gaslighting them. Oh my gosh, you were gaslighted and so were we. We were all gaslighted by Jill Biden, history's greatest gaslighter, who was just exposed, who hid her husband's fitness, and she's apparently been running the country. This is so stupid. Jill Biden has not been running the country. She's a fall guy for whatever reason. But they also blame her for telling. That's also the riff of she covered it up, and also the inner circle there leading with Jill, who has the most influence over Joe, are the ones telling him to keep going forward and preventing everybody from what they want, which is Biden to step down and do a new candidate. So you can see actually a little excerpt of the media right here, pretending like they didn't know this was, and this is you. I mean, to believe this is just, your brain is fractured to not see through this right here. Here they are. It's just one of many. Let me refresh that browser real quick.
Have Americans been duped about President Biden's fitness for office based on his aides keeping him in a bubble?
Asked by the ones doing the duping.
Well, I can tell you that I think a lot of Americans, including Democrats and the Democratic Party lawmakers that have actually spent time with Joe Biden, have felt duped, have felt gaslit. And part of the reason I wrote this piece is because that anger, that frustration also includes people in the White House as well.
Even the people in the White House were duped, so they weren't lying to us. They're still reliable truth tellers. We were all duped together.
The matter is that really only about 20 people regularly interact with Joe Biden on a day-to-day basis in sort of an intimate way. A lot of the other aides, even ones just one or two clicks outside that inner circle, you only see them every once in a while. And
I mean, and this all just completely ignores all the people who've been calling this out for so long and pointing it out, which they wrote off as they made up cheap fakes, all this BS. Just ignore all of that. They were so fooled that they thought that the people pointing it out were lying. And that's why they're so mad, because they had the wool pulled over their eyes and they were gaslit.
They noticed, little gaps or call them brain farts, but they were always in ways that you could sort of rationalize them as, well, anyone could say that. And, he's always been a bit loose. So the fact is that aides in the White House were just as shocked as many other Democrats on the Hill at what they were seeing. And there was real anger, and there was sadness. They felt like this was maybe hurt them in the election. There was like anger. They felt that they had not been told the truth by their bosses. And a lot of them still feel like they are not getting clear answers as to what happened in that debate. And was this the first time that Joe Biden acts like that blank-faced stare, mouth agape, not being able to put sentences together? There was this feeling.
Okay, so I had an echo. Thank you for in the chats for. Yes, I need to figure that out. Thank you. I don't know. This is a new audio setup, so I need to figure out where that echo is coming from. Obviously, that's all bullshit, everything he just said. But he was able to say it with such, sincerity that enough people will believe it. And what's going on with my screen here? All right, hold on a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back in. I popped out because my monitor went out. I'm going to check the audio here and see if we're still. Yes, I believe. I think I do know why the audio was a bit echoey there. Hopefully this is why. And if I play another video, I guess we will find out. So hold on one second. Let me adjust this a little bit. Stream input, stream output. All right. Okay, so thank you for that. All right. So it's all bullshit. We all know that. But maybe the explanation is just that they've been calling her a doctor for too long. And it went to her head. Because it's almost like, if Jill says that Joe is okay, we should all believe her because she is a doctor after all. I mean, Dr. Jill, and she started thinking that she could run tests on him and that she's not just a bullshit doctor, but she's actually her husband's medical doctor. What the media and his donors are disingenuously doing now to call for Biden to prove himself is they're calling for him to either step down or prove himself by showing that was just a one-off, bad night, by doing things like long interviews, public events, stuff like going on Anderson Cooper and Sean Hannity, just like Newsom did, is what the article says. Do just exactly what Newsom did. Do hour-long press conferences every week until after the election, like that's going to happen. And do a 60 Minutes interview this week. Meet with the editorial board of the New York Times. They want him to meet with the editorial board of the New York Times to give them, come on, guys. Let's to just to just get the media who's supposed to be holding them accountable to lie to them. The one time the media pretends to hold the president accountable, the donors are like, you need to meet with them and make sure they don't do that again. Even though we know it's BS. And they want him to do another late night appearance on Seth Meyers' show. I covered the first one where Seth Meyers just throws the most unbelievably controlled softball interview. Like, you even had a guest. You had Seth Meyers and you had a guest. I can't remember her name. Amy something, the one who used to do the SNL thing with Tina Fey. They were both there clearly handling and directing Joe the whole time. So that's the main asset they go to get the performance out of Joe they want, which I thought that was the case at the time. So, look, we'll see if Biden starts doing these things. He did this thing today in response to the Supreme Court ruling, which he pretended not to like, but he loved in his heart. I'm assuming, because it protects him. He did a 3-minute press conference. This is obviously not going to happen. This is obviously the media attempting to appear trustworthy. But will he be the candidate? So which way are they going to go with it? I think that they have to create this struggle narrative. They can't just flip it immediately. They got to make it look like some are for, some are against. So it's a hard-fought battle to replace him, even though he had such dignity when he was in office. That's one of the narratives. If you leave now, you had so much dignity in the greatest one term of any president in history, stuff like that. All attempts to, I guess, persuade Biden. I don't know. It's just all, I don't think it's really, I think that it's all a play that they're operating on together. And this is just all for the different opinions coming out of the debate in the public to bring us along to certain places so that it seems natural when they do replace it. And they're arguing that, some are arguing that he can't be replaced. It's just not realistic for him to be replaced because of this bitch, Jill. This bitch rigged it so he can't even be replaced at this point. And he's got to run. He's the candidate, right? Because the other options are impractical, like the 25th Amendment, they say. Him stepping down on his own, they say he won't step down on his own because of that bitch. They could maybe do a false flag and blame MAGA. I don't even know how believable that is at this point. They could do a brokered convention, the open convention, which I don't know quite the details of what that means, but it has something to do with if their convention fails to choose a nominee during the first round, the delegates that were pledged to that nominee can then go elsewhere and support another one. And I think the way the rules around the DNC is the DNC has a good conscience rule, which is kind of, it's kind of ironic for the DNC. Okay. But they say here that Biden delegates, for somebody else to get selected, the ones that he has won throughout the states, they would have to violate their good conscience rule at the convention and vote for someone other than who they're supposed to vote for. And the rules say, or they encourage, but don't specifically require delegates to vote for the candidate they're pledged to support. And it says that all delegates to the national convention pledged to a presidential candidate shall in all good conscience reflect the sentiments of those who elected them. So I think at this point, it could be good conscience not to vote for Joe. Whatever. I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. What would make the delegates revolt, which they do have a rule that actually tries and prevent this for the Democrat Party. That rule is that so the candidates before the convention, so Biden will have this right, they can review and make changes to their own slate of delegates in each state so they can put in the people that they most believe will vote in their favor. But if there's only 20 or so people making the decisions for Biden, like this guy said in that clip, then you're not going to be able to scatter enough people around the country and all the states to be able to continue to hold that facade up anyway. This is probably the way this goes. Unless they can convince him to step down with dignity, maybe with, quote, dignity. There's nothing dignifying about this family, but you know what I mean. This is the other thing could just be, as I mentioned earlier, they could just let Biden ride it out just to see how much of the American public will vote for a literal dementia patient. Why not? Let's put Weekend at Bernie's up there and see how much of the American public will vote for them based purely on the fact that we've convinced them the other guy's Hitler. How little does truth actually matter? How much of the American public mind is captured? I mean, leave Biden in and you'll find that out for sure. Maybe they want Trump to win. That's another possibility. Maybe all of the above. Who knows? Cammie is not electable. So to get her, they have to prop him. Right. Well, that's true. Grubby. If they want to have that first black female, then they will have to prop him up and then maybe get rid of him. Because she's as unelectable as he is. I saw somebody earlier where they said the perfect ticket was Gretchen Whitmer, the fake kidnapping lady in Michigan. And what's the guy's name? Raphael Warnock, the senator here in Georgia. The one who allegedly beats his wife. Actually, not beats his wife, ran over his wife's foot with a car at one point. I don't know what the argument was. I just know that tidbit. Maybe she wouldn't get out of the way of the wheel. I don't know. But they have to mix the female and the black together. If they can't have Kamala, let's have a white female and a black dude as the vice president. Put the white female up front. I don't know if that's going to work either. In the midst of all of this, let me show you this first. This is how you know this is all bullshit. This is this right here. Jill Biden has not, as far as I've been able to see, and I follow this stuff very closely, has never been the sole puppet master. This is part of the problem. Like you read the propaganda books. They say don't read Mein Kampf. Or any of the Mein Kampf specifically talks about you need to create one symbol that everybody can focus their energy on as being the bad guy, the Jew. Hitler says this in his book. Well, they say it in the other propaganda books too. Well, now they're making Jill Biden that one because you don't want to split people's focus on who the enemy is. You want them to, so they want in this little battle, Jill to be kind of portrayed as this enemy, and that's never happened before. At the same time as all of this stuff is going on, it just so happens that Jill is the Vogue magazine cover feature. She's on the cover of Vogue magazine, and there's a long article that has been months in the works, long before it wasn't like the debate happened and then they ran to Jill Biden and said, let's do this interview. They've been following her around since at least April and actually March, according to this article. And there she is wearing all white there. God, she's awful. She just looks awful. I mean, she looks like a nightmare to be around. But in this article, just here's how it opens. Hold on. There she is on the cover of Vogue. See, that's not an accident. This is not a coincidence that these are at the same time. These are manipulations of the public mind. But this article starts off like this. It gives a quick editor's note, and it says how Jill says that we will not let those 90 minutes define the 4 years he's been president. We will continue to fight, and we will always do what's best for the country. President Biden will always do what's best for the country. And then this very pretentious article starts off by saying, if you want to know what power feels like, try to get yourself driven around in a motorcade. Flashing police chaperone lights form a perimeter, and you blaze down an empty highway awaiting cars backed up on entry ramps as you pass. It's as if the world is holding its breath for you. Also, the rules don't apply. On a cool spring day, driving down suburban Minneapolis side streets, we will run red lights and whip round curves so fast that I can barely take in the commonplace American view. Tract housing, big box stores, churches, office parks, semi-industrial, no man's lands. Finally, we arrive at our destination. 9 Mile Brewing in Bloomington, Minnesota. Let's go, let's go, let's go, commands someone, a Secret Service agent, maybe as the motorcade pulls into a loading dock. Politics, I will come to discover in the next few days, involves a lot of backstage spaces, service entrances, freight elevators, places where very important people, in all caps. Why is that? I don't know. Why are those capitalized? Very important people. It's weird. Can slip in and out of events unnoticed. So they have very and important and people. They have those words capitalized in this article. This is a person, it goes on, continues with this pretentiousness. And then it says, politics involves a lot of comically fast walking, to wit, a 9-mile, an entourage of 30 or so, noisily hustling to follow a trim blonde woman in a pristine white suit as she strides nonchalantly past clanging, gurgling, brewing vats, aiming for a back office. That's interesting. This is my first glimpse of Dr. Jill Biden. Exciting. The sealed chamber of power into the middle. Exiting, excuse me. The sealed chamber of power into the middle of America. A vision of calm amid utter cacophony. What I mean, could you blow yourself more in the way you write an article? What's up, Steve? So you think it's just coincidence that you get this pretentious cover story of her at the same time all of this stuff happens? Of course not. It's narrative control. And she's been cast as the villain of this narrative, probably willingly. It's all bullshit. Everything is so much bullshit. Speaking of which, if Jill Biden's Vogue cover was not cringe enough, Kamala said, hold my Merlot and Ambien. Let me show you what cringe really is. And Kamala's out here, I guess, trying to prove maybe she can step in with ads like this that came out yesterday. What's wrong with these people? Get rid of that. All right, here it is. I don't even know who this person is that Kamala is pretending to have a phone call with. She looks like a real housewife or something to me. So they're doing a back and forth like they're having a FaceTime call. They're cutting to Kamala, who's sitting in the White House, I guess. And they're cutting to this lady who's in like a green room with a pink robe on.
No, Taraj.
Taraj.
No, Taraj. You know I wouldn't do that. Especially not to a fellow bison. The real HU? You know. So what's on your mind?
Am I echoing? It's a question for those listening live. Notice the code switching from Kamala there.
No, Taraj. You know I wouldn't do that. Especially not to a fellow bison. The real HU? You know. So what's on your mind?
I have to pause there, and I'm going to take this out in case I am echoing. The real HU is Howard University, and I've talked about this a lot. The Divine Nine, Black Illuminati, this is Black Freemasons, this is what this Divine Nine calls themselves. This is what Fani Willis in Georgia, Fulton County is, what most of the people she has filled her DA's office with in Fulton County. They're Divine Nine, Black Illuminati members. And thank you, Grubby. I'll have to figure that out after the show. After taking that out, I'm not echoing, I hope. But when I have the thing on, it's echoing. Is it right now echoing? Or just when the video's on? Sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked, guys. I'm trying to figure out some of this new tech stuff, and it can be a little... I don't always have a monitor on it. Okay. Oh. I think I see what's going on. All right, I'll deal with that later. So I apologize for the echoes on the stream, guys. Hopefully you could hear what Kamala was saying. This is more Divine Nine, Black Illuminati. Like everybody that Kamala and all of these folks deal with, they always go back to being a member of this Divine Nine. It's kind of crazy. All right, are the videos intelligible? Can you tell what she's saying when I play them? Yeah, I don't know why. See, this worked the other day, the setup I have, Nano. At least I thought it did. There must have been something I did different. Where it's echoing now and it didn't echo then. I'll have to worry about that after the show. Okay, sorry. I'm going to play the rest of this thing, and I do apologize for the echo. Get back up there. You listen to more of her code switching.
Madam VP Harris, I'm worried about the election. Women's reproductive rights are on the line. Our Supreme Court is on the line. Our basic freedoms are being tested, Madam VP. I know you've been traveling across country. What are you hearing? Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they're not like us. No, they're not. There's a full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote. Yep. The freedom to love who you love. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom for a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. No, Taraji.
Okay, so they not like it. You saw the code switching. Kamala does that, and it's so cringe when she does it. Thank you for the recommendation, Beacon. You say, or Nano, you say use BEACN to mix and create. I will check that out. I'm always looking for simple solutions to podcasting stuff. And I comment a lot about how I'm like Jake Tapper and all them. Us podcasters don't have a crew of 20 people doing all the tech stuff for us. We're working double, triple duty when we do it, so it can be challenging sometimes. It looks like we got a couple of podcasters in the comments here who've experienced that for sure. I always, whenever I see people, it's so, there's a reason they pay the audio guys in movies the big bucks, man, because it can be tough. It can be challenging. Sometimes you'll think you'll have it one day, and then you'll go in and do it, and then you don't even know what it is, but something's different, and it's kind of throwing a wrench into everything. So that's just another cringe video from Kamala. I don't know who they're appealing to there. I really don't even know what audience is going to be into that, because that felt like a Real Housewives lady. And I don't think that audience that might appeal to is on the fence for any. It's just it's so insulting. I mean, this is what Kamala Harris spends her time doing. Like Joe Biden spends his time, I'm guessing, not knowing where he is and napping. Kamala Harris spends her time drinking wine, taking Ambien, and making fun play videos with her Divine Nine sorority sisters from Howard University. I mean, this is taxpayer funded, probably. Stuff. Well, maybe not this. This might be funded by the campaign, but this is what they do all the day, is make stupid TikTok videos. All right. Do one more quick thing, then get out of here. You know, I don't like to hit up on, annoying memes too often. Like, yeah, total thespian grubby, absolutely. That are hot, but there's even, not I would say misinformation. I don't like those terms, misinformation, disinformation. There's blatant lies being told about comments that brand new TikTok celebrities make. The Hawktua girl, which most people have probably heard of. I was in a bar the other day, and I heard all these people at the other side of the bar, older folks. A couple of them were a grandma and grandpa, very obviously, sharing Hawktua videos with each other and laughing. And even saw the grandmother of the group do a pretend Hawk Tuah and thrust her head down at Grandpa's crotch in the bar while everybody had a good laugh. And I'm just going, man, this is crazy how quickly stuff like this can just, catch fire. I think it's funny to a certain extent and stupid. And I think the different ways people can make jokes off of it can be fun sometimes it's annoying, but whatever. It's like a creative prompt that everybody online tries to do something fun with, be the funniest reaction with. But here we have media actually using it to report fake news about Trump, as not just media on the left, both media on the left and right reported today that, here it says breaking news. This is from Midas Touch, M-E-I-D-A-S Touch. I don't know how to say that. It is really dumb. Right. But I like how these fake news, so you have Laura Loomer and this far left news publication reporting the exact same lie about an interview that this chick did. And they said, Midas Touch said, breaking, the Hawk Tuah girl, aka, I'm not going to say her name, the Hawk Tuah girl has come out against Donald Trump in her first ever interview. It's not her first ever interview. We saw an interview she did earlier, which made her famous. But it then says in the tweet, it quotes her saying, "It's a no for me, from me." No, absolutely not, says her friend. Then you go over to Laura Loomer. So they both shared the same video, right? Then you go to Laura Loomer, who's a right-winger. That's left wing. Go to Laura, and Loomer says, I think this is the right one here. No, it's the wrong one. Loomer says the exact same thing, except elaborates. Laura Loomer says, watch, the degenerate Hawk Tuah girl is anti-Trump. In her first interview, used the same language as that other one, just copied it. In her first interview, she was asked about Donald Trump. She said, it's a no for me. And then she says, stop giving skanks attention. This girl was made famous for talking about spitting on a penis during oral sex. She is not to be taken seriously. No self-respecting woman is going around talking about spitting on penises. She's clearly a moron and behaves like white trash. Typical Biden supporter. And the next, which is interesting, because she included the actual clip, as did the same clip. And I'm not going to play it, but in the clip, the interviewer says, I want to play a game with you. Would you Hawk Tuah? It's like Mary F. Kill. Would you Hawk Tuah? This person was the game. And then the interviewer starts listing off people. And of those people that she lists off, she says Trump. And that is when the girl said no. Now, apparently, to Midas Touch and Laura Loomer, it's anti-Trump to not want to blow Trump. Either you want to blow Trump or you're anti-Trump Biden supporter. That's the reasoning here. I mean, it's so stupid. Why do we have to lie about even that? I mean, they did not follow up with, would you blow Biden? That was not, would you Hawk Tuah? Biden didn't come up in that interview. I went through it. It wasn't very long. I have to say that because if it were like an hour and a half interview and I went through it, I couldn't say that I went through it. It could be very embarrassing, but it was short. But they act like either you Hawk Tuah Trump or you Hawk Tuah Biden. You have to blow one of them, just like you have to vote for one of them. This is the reasoning of these idiots. I shouldn't say they're idiots because they're getting the engagement they want. Laura Loomer knows that was bullshit. She shared the entire clip, but she intentionally misled to get the engagement to pump up those X dollars because she's a grifter. Just like the other group. It's good to see they can both grift off the same lie. And you even see that she did it because she later on, after she got enough attention to it, was able to get more engagement farming. Talk about, well, you're not allowed to engagement farm. I mean, this is straight up engagement farming. It's what people do on X. So Bill Ackman pointed out to Laura after it had been shared many, many times, because people just share it. Laura, you got this one wrong. This was not a question. She was asked, and I don't think you can determine her politics from this clip. And then Laura said, I stand corrected. Upon further review, it turns out that she was only talking about whether she would perform fellatio on President Trump. Now, after further review, she knew that already. I mean, it got community. It's just the grift never ends. It never, ever, ever ends. I mean, that is how you make money in media. That's why I don't make any money. Because you grift like a mother effer all the effing time. Like, you don't care about the truth. Like, you use whatever trend to spin your grift into. So-and-so latest TikTok celeb is against or for Trump. Like, you got to know, what is this latest new famous person who's famous for 2 weeks? Do they love Trump or hate him? They did the same thing with that guy who did that, which a lot of people liked him. I know. I never liked him, honestly. People got mad at me because I just thought he was kind of a grifter. But the guy who sang that song, The Redhead, a while back, and everybody went and did that big concert there. Like, I'm just like, this is so stupid. They just manipulate. It's good to, like, I don't know. It's good to be a part of stuff. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be an isolation independent. You can be too independent that you isolate yourself. You don't want that. You want a community. They just exploit everything online. I mean, it's so stupid. I don't know what Laura Loomer knows about Hawk Tuin, honestly, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know at all. I love this article here. Where is that? This is for the New York Times. This is a headline. I'm not going to put it on the screen, but it says, what Biden could learn from Betty White about aging in public. This is a piece by the New York Times. Maybe the president is going to start doing Snickers commercials. What Biden could maybe maintain his presidency if he were a little more like Betty White. I think most of us would vote for Betty White over him. All right. That's going to be it for today. Thank you for letting me know, guys, about the echoing in the audio. I need to figure that out, and I will. And thank you for the chats in the early AM. And we'll do it again. Probably going to do one later tonight with Ian. So we will talk to you guys next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day.